avant-garde.
All right, welcome to a very merry edition of Torture Garden. I'm Scott.
I'm Jimmy.
And we are both in the flesh, in person,
which
together.
Definitely my favorite recordings to do.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. We're both home for the holidays, and not only does that mean that we'll be hanging out, but more specifically, we're going to go music shopping.
Or we already did.
We already did, yeah. That's a thing that happened. We go to Bull Moose, which is a really cool independent chain in New England, which usually has a good selection of old and new CDs and vinyl. And today we both got CDs, and Jimmy got a couple of books.
Yeah, which I just want to blab about these for a second, just get them out of the way. They're both Junji Ito manga collections, which I highly recommend. He's a very weird horror writer that is like it's like if David Lynch made like horror movies.
That's interesting.
So I'm really looking forward to reading these. But
which ones?
So first one's Uzumaki, which is a like a 3-part serial, basically, and then the other one is Shiver, which is it's like selected. It's almost like short stories, but they're manga.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Which I've heard so many good things about his stuff that I've been wanting to buy these for a while. So actually, that Shiver just came out just like last week. So
nice.
Really psyched about that. But
more importantly,
we got music.
Yes.
So
I was going to say you save money on those, which is cool.
Yeah, actually, I did save money on those. So, but I was thinking for music, how we just swap? We'll do one and one.
Yeah.
Like, all right. So,
absolutely.
Why don't you go first?
So I have these in semi-alphabetical order. One of them's out of order because it's by the same composer or artist, so or he's involved in all of them. But the first one is Battle of Mice, A Day of Nights.
Isn't Jacob Bannon involved in that?
I don't think so. The name that people might recognize who's involved with this is Julie Christmas.
Oh,
she did that collaboration with Cult of Luna.
She's also part of.
She's part of something I forget.
I know. I'm trying to remember the other. God damn! I know this one too. Like, half part chimp. I think so. I think it's part chimp. Yeah.
But this is something that Decibel magazine released their top 100 albums of the decade. This was several years ago, and this one was on there, and it always interested me because it popped out. A lot of their picks. They're a metal magazine. A lot of the picks were pretty obviously metal albums, and this was kind of, it's just unassuming. Just a blue cover with some lights on it. So I looked into it, and apparently it's kind of an underground classic in terms of post metal. And more interestingly, I forget whom she was either dating or married to on this record, but they did not make it out of the recording. Mm-hmm. Apparently they ended up separating it, and it really it was a struggle to make this. So it's always interesting when there's some type of internal conflict or some type of history behind how the album came to be. So I really don't. This was a blind purchase based on a lot of recommendations. I've been getting a little bit more. I've always loved bands like Isis and Neurosis and whatnot, but I've been getting a little bit more into post metal. I listen to a lot more Pelican, bands like that. So I'm kind of interested to see what this will sound like, because I don't think Julie Christmas screams.
I'm pretty sure she does.
She does? Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I don't know if it was part chimp that she was part of. Now that I think about it. Oh, I think it was Made Out of Babies.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it was, because I remember listening to this album with her on it, and she was fucking insane on it.
Okay.
Yeah, which, speaking of that Decibel list, that was not a Cave-In at like number 1, right?
Number 1 was Jane Doe.
Oh, what was the one with Cave-In on it?
Jupiter. I think that was number 2.
Okay.
Cave-In Jupiter.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I remember we were talking about this list years ago.
Yeah, I mean, this list came out a long time ago.
Yeah.
I just happened to see this, and I'd never seen it in person before. I was like, why does that seem familiar? And I looked it up. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I got my boss gave us all Visa gift cards as a Christmas bonus, so I kind of had a pretty much free reign. So I was like, hey, why not?
That's the best thing about being like a music freak in Christmas is that like, you know, not a lot of people know what to get you, so they just give you money.
Yeah, they just give you money, and you're like, great.
I'm like totally fine with that. Some people think it's like cheap to do, but I'm like, no, because like we're just into such weird and distinct stuff that it'd just be like if you just picked out something, it probably wouldn't be as easy.
There was actually one birthday where my mom was like, you know, like we're tired of getting you Bull Moose gift cards. We'll just, you know, just give us a list of some albums you might like.
Yeah.
And I just shared with them my running list of albums, and they were like, oh my god. So they just kind of just picked like at random because there were so many albums on it.
That's what I did for because my grandma was like, oh, you know, we want to get you something. I'm like, okay, so here's a bunch of books then. Like,
exactly.
And so, you know, thankfully they got a bunch, and I'm like, okay, fine with me, you know,
exactly,
because books I've been looking forward to. So, all right,
exactly.
Let's see. I'm just gonna pick one at random. Okay, Prurient, Bermuda Drain. So, you know, for those who don't know, Prurient, what would you just? I guess like harsh noise, but he's a lot more than
really
that.
Branched out. I mean, he does all sorts of kind of.
Yeah, like
just all the realm of electronic music.
Yeah,
touches on.
So, you know, I think his biggest album to date still probably is Frozen Niagara Falls, which is a really, really good album.
Yep.
But Bermuda Drain, I think, came before that, and it's a little more dancey, I guess. Like, I guess that there's more like electronic vibes to it. I was listening to it a while ago. I don't even remember what it sounds like, but I really wanted to get some more Prurient just because I was telling Scott earlier, I'm really, really just been like just in the mood for something really noisy and angry. So, you know, since they don't, you know, like it's really hard to find power electronics albums that aren't like $50. So,
yeah, exactly.
I think this is a good trade off. So,
yeah, and I have to say, I love it. Comes with a sticker. Jimmy bought it new. Listen on headphones at night while driving through tunnels in Europe. So we're gonna have to jump on that.
Yeah. Oh man, I actually, I mean, I plan on going to Europe at least once, and so I think I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, you think I'll have to do that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. All right.
Next one. This was actually, so as I mentioned, I had a gift card for $75. And I was just, I mean, I didn't want to just have, you know, $2 left over.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find something that was relatively cheap to push me over. And I was glancing at the electronics section, and what popped out of me was, cover your ears, kids, but Terror Sport by Fuck Buttons. And this is an album I've been looking for forever. They released their third album in 2013 called Slow Focus.
Is it that the one with all the?
It's the one with the
clocks, or
no?
It was like green, right?
No, it's black and it has the like golden jewelry.
That's what I was thinking of.
They found like this really, you know, nice piece, and they put it on the cover.
Yeah,
and it's kind of it's very unique. I don't even know how to. It's a duo. They've since. I don't know if they've split up, but they haven't done anything.
I thought they were on hiatus, but I really haven't listened to Fuck Buttons.
Yeah,
at all.
One of the guys does Blank Mass. Which he's actually gotten some attention with.
What did you think of that anyway? The new Blank Mass.
I like Blank Mass, but I prefer. I think it's kind of an extension of what Fuck Buttons does, except I think it's a little less interesting. I think Fuck Buttons is very, just kind of vibrant, odd. Electronic music. It's kind of droning and minimal in a way, in sense it's kind of like a slow progression. But there's some really like kind of low key dancey vibes as well. It's very unique, and I have never heard Terror Sport, but this was kind of. You know when you notice that, like, you know, critics just kind of converge around one band's album, and then they just kind of don't care as much about anything else. Everyone kind of converged around Terror Sport and gave it, you know, a lot of praise. So I'm really interested to hear this because I love Slow Focus, and now I'm excited to kind of listen to quote unquote like their best album, or kind of when everyone agrees that they peaked. But yeah, this is really was a nice find. I was just trying to look for something to push me over 75 and. Yeah, just saw it.
Fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. All right. Oh, okay. This is Ben Webster and meets the Oscar Peterson trio. Just really, really nice, slow, cool jazz. Really, really just laid back. I've been listening to this album a lot lately, and I'm so glad I found it. Like it's nothing like boundary pushing by any means, but it's just a very solid jazz album. And I think Ben Webster is one of those like saxophonists that just I feel like doesn't get like the respect he deserves, just because I think he's just very very distinct when it comes to his phrasing. Like he has this very breathy sort of tone that I really like, that it really fits cool jazz. It sort of reminds me of Stan Getz a little bit, but I think with a little more power, because I don't know do you know if Getz played alto or tenor? I think he played tenor, but he could have played either. I'm not really sure, but Ben Webster has a little more power to him. But so yeah, really, really good, really, really strong album. I'm really psyched because I'm always up for buying more jazz. Yeah, so,
for sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, I got the latest album from Vijay Iyer. It's Vijay Iyer Sextet, Far From Over. This just came out this year, and I've kind of strayed away typically from buying new albums in the same year they've been released, just because I'm never sure if it's just I'm just prisoner of the moment. You know what I mean? Like I'm never sure if I'm just really into it because I've heard it so many times because it just came out. And there's a lot of times where I've bought albums I really liked, and then I just kind of didn't sit well with me, and I hadn't didn't end up really listening to it that much, and I probably wouldn't have bought it otherwise if it wasn't a new album or whatever. This, however, it's just Vijay Iyer. He's a pianist and a composer, and unlike someone like, I forget his name, we shit on him all the time. He's a pianist.
Oh, Keith Jarrett.
Keith Jarrett.
Well, I thought you liked Keith Jarrett.
I like Keith Jarrett, just not in large doses.
Yeah.
I really like what he does. It just sometimes it gets old because it's a little too clean, a little too pristine.
Yeah.
I feel like Vijay Iyer approaches piano bass, kind of that type of chamber, low key kind of jazz in a much more interesting way. I feel like he approaches it. He takes risks, and it's not always. I mean, not that he does crazy atonal stuff, but he doesn't always stay in strict, nice clean tonality when he plays. He goes crazy. And something I've always wanted him to do, or something I've always wanted to hear from him, is a larger group.
Yeah.
And this is what this is. He has a sextet. Obviously he plays piano, and then along with the bass and drum, he has tenor sax, alto sax, and then someone doing a cornet, flugelhorn, and electronics, and it really touches on
electronics. Seriously,
yeah, and it really touches on a lot of interesting, but basically, it's one of those jazz albums that kind of touches on a lot of different parts in the genre's history. I mean, there's some tracks that lean a little bit more towards electroacoustic jazz. There's some stuff that's a bit more modal, stuff that's a bit more almost. Kind of like that, the Sketches of Spain, the third string in a way, but not too far, just kind of goes with a little bit of different vibes.
Yeah.
And it's just, I was really pleasantly surprised by how much I love the album, and I was really glad that he was able to take the way he approaches playing piano and composing and being a band leader, and I wanted to grab it. I've really been slowly collecting a lot of the different stuff he does, and he's become one of my favorite modern jazz artist, just because he really did at first turn me off, because I wasn't really as big a fan of the the piano driven jazz like that. But I do think that the more I dive in, the more I appreciate the way he takes it in a different direction that isn't just straightforward, plain. You're in a really expensive restaurant and they just have like the very clean, polished, posh piano jazz. So I'm really glad I was able to pick this up. And typically I don't buy albums that are brand new, to try to save some money. But since I had the gift card, I said, why the fuck not?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Didn't Free Jazz Collective give that a 5-star?
Did they really?
Yeah, I remember seeing some Vijay Iyer album on there that was given a perfect rating. But and I tried to find it, but it isn't on Spotify.
It just got on Spotify.
Oh, it did?
Actually,
okay.
It's weird how all at once, only some of his stuff was on Spotify, and then I checked back a few weeks ago just because I really wanted to listen to it, and like boom, like all the shit's on there now.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is kind of random how that happens. I guess
Well, I mean, it has to do with like labels.
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny how all it takes is that one decision, and then boom, everything's on there. So I guess which leads me to wonder because I think he's been on ECM for most, if not all, of his career, or at least most of his albums are ECM releases. So I'm curious if that means most ECM stuff is now on Spotify. I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know. I've never really been a huge ECM fan.
Very, very hit or miss for me.
Well, just like I feel like they're part of those people that like popularized that Keith Jarrett, saccharine type of.
They did,
sound.
But there's definitely actually the main reason I got into Vijay is his collaboration with Leo Smith. Which is an ECM release.
Cosmic Rhythm in Each Stroke.
And I was interested because I was getting more into Leo Smith, and I was like, I should check that because I didn't like it initially, and going back to it, I really, really liked what they did, and it's cool how they really were able to, how Vijay does and what Leo Smith does in their own way. They're able to strike that balance between not being crazy avant-garde, but also not being like really, really plain. I like it. It's kind of a unique area that not a lot. Usually jazz artists kind of do one or the other, and they kind of are good at walking the line. Yeah, definitely.
Smith's always been in like that weird, like uncanny valley of music for me.
Exactly.
Like I always think about selling the albums of his that I have, but then I'll turn them on and I'm like, I can't sell this because it just like it perplexes me so much, and I feel like I need to figure it out.
Exactly.
Definitely. I'm definitely have to listen to that at some point. Let's see. Oh, all right. This is one of Scott's gifts for me. Fugazi's Repeater, which is thank you, by the way.
So what happened was for Christmas I got him a poster, like a big blow up of the Bitches Brew Gatefold, which is one of my favorite album covers, and I know Jimmy likes it a lot too.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find a frame, so I felt like a huge ass giving him, just the poster with no frame. So I decided to pick out something he was going to buy. And I mean, as Jimmy said, I love Fugazi.
Yeah. I can't really say I'm the biggest Fugazi fan. I've only just really only the last couple of months have I been able to actually listen to an album and actually enjoy it on some level. But I think that there's so much potential for it to grow on me, and that's sort of why I wanted to get this. It's just because I feel like if I just listen to it a couple more times, I'm just going to be completely addicted to it. And I respect the hell out of Ian MacKaye. I find it to be just an amazing musician.
Yeah.
Arguably one of the most important musicians of
for
the
sure.
modern era.
Absolutely.
Regardless of whether people actually knew him or not.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I definitely I love those albums where it's just not quite there, where you can tell you there's, like you said, potential to enjoy it.
Yeah.
For example, do you know Prurient?
Oh yeah. What passes for survival?
It was Mother of Virtues, where I listened to it and it just wasn't. It was right there, but it wasn't clicking, and so it took a few listens, and finally, they're one of my favorite modern death metal bands.
What'd you think of the new one?
It was a continuation of Mother of Virtues, and I think that they really upped their game. It was difficult for them to kind of go. I think in a way they refined their sound. It wasn't as crazy. It was still really technical, insane, whatever. But I think that they were a little bit more honed, and it wasn't so abrasive. Like there was stuff you could actually latch onto. So I think it approached it in a different way.
Yeah, because I remember trying to listen to that, and I mean, I'm me. I'm the first one to admit that I'm very, very picky.
Yeah.
When it comes to first listens, that I wasn't a huge fan. But I definitely, there was something very distinct about what Prurient was doing.
They have a very interesting voice.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm a big Fugazi fan, and I'm glad to see that you're
finally converting.
Well, just because like you said, I think that they have, they had a lot to offer. The underground rock community.
Well,
I mean,
I see. Here's the thing: is I think I've been sort of, I think the well for post-hardcore sort of got tainted for me, early on because I always assumed post-hardcore was that stupid pop punk shit, like a Skylit Drive and shit like that.
Yeah.
And I hated those bands so much. And so, I always sort of put Fugazi in the same category, even though that's completely incorrect. So, even like earlier post-hardcore albums that I had bought, like Frodis's And We Washed Our Weapons in the Sea, which is a great album, underrated album, worth buying. I really wish I hadn't stolen my copy years ago, but the last couple of months they've really grown on me a lot because I don't know, there's just something like it doesn't, because I don't know, again, like there's like that melodic hardcore thing that I sort of just get mixed up with, that I don't like that stuff as much. Like it's like La Dispute and like what was that, what's that band that does Stage 4 and they're like that really good post-hardcore band that Touche Amore, thank you. But like I don't hate La Dispute or Touche Amore, but like it's more like it's a very limited time. But I think Repeater and like Fugazi is very different from that. So
yeah, it's been really fascinating to see how, technically, the bands you mentioned and Fugazi are both post-hardcore bands, and the same thing with metalcore. Like, Converge and Asking Alexandria are both metalcore bands.
Yeah,
and it just goes to show how, and you can see the thread. You can
definitely
see where it's been thread, but it really is. It's very almost
two different beasts.
Kind of like Dance Gavin Dance's post-hardcore, and they sound fucking nothing like Fugazi.
I still found that funny that was your like number one played artist still.
Catchy bubblegum metal.
Well, I mean, you're talking to the guy who's listening to Billy Joel like every single day, so I mean, like gotta go with what you love.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, next one.
So I've been wanting to finish out my Mogwai collection for a while now. Except for the new, I'm not a huge fan of the new one, unfortunately. They went.
Was it Every Country's Son, right?
Yeah, the first track was really good. I think it was like Coolverine or whatever. Like it was a really interesting kind of continuation of what they've been doing on what was it called? Their last album, Rave Tapes, where they've been doing a lot more electronic stuff. And at first, it sounded like it was going down that route, but then they started like almost. I hate to say it, just because that's just not what they're known for, but like almost shoegazy, almost like kind of pop rocky. Like it just, they went in this really odd direction that I just don't. A, it's not what I want from Mogwai, and B, I don't think they did it particularly well. But thankfully, their back catalog's still great. And there'd always been two albums I was missing: The Hawk is Howling and Rock Action. And since they kind of operate that weird spot where they're well known enough that CD stores will have them, but they're not popular enough where it'll be really expensive. So I was fortunate to have both of these at a pretty good price. I mean they're easily my favorite post rock band. I think that they have been instrumental in changing their instrumental.
Shut up.
They really have been very influential in moving the genre forward. I think that they've up until Another Country's Son, they've reinvented themselves in a very subtle but interesting way. They've done some really cool stuff, and I haven't listened to these albums before. They're one of those bands I trust their discography enough that I just want to kind of collect everything they have. So I'm really excited to listen to these because I love all their other albums. I think other than the new one, I think that everything else in their catalog is phenomenal.
No, that's definitely. What was I just thinking? Oh, I just never gotten into post rock as much as I probably should. Also, I'm surprised that you didn't pick because I had you pegged for like a Godspeed, like for like that being your favorite post rock band.
I really I do like Godspeed a lot. It's hard to just like put a Godspeed album on. You know what I mean? Like for me, like, it's an experience. It's so cinematic and involved, and you kind of have to you really have to sit down and listen to. It's not like, if you want to pause a Mogwai album, all the songs are pretty much mid-length. Whereas if you pause a God's, I've literally sat in my car for another few minutes just to finish out a Godspeed song, because I hate stunting that momentum.
Yeah.
Like it's 20 minutes that like builds and ebbs and flows, and if you stop it, okay, well now kind of diminishes the impact. To me, I think Mogwai is a bit more accessible, and I think that you get that crescendo and don't have to like wait as long. You know what I mean? That's one of the things. I love Godspeed, but it's just not something, if I want that really nice swell of melodic, post-rock crescendo, sometimes I don't want to wait 20 minutes for it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to just have like a 5-minute song that just develops, relatively quickly.
Yeah, I get you. I totally get you. I really should listen to more. I still like note to self, listen to more post-rock.
Yeah.
All right.
It's one of those genres that's either really well. It's kind of like black metal. It's either fantastic or like really bad. So
yeah, I get you. Well, how about something that's not post rock at all? Frank Zappa's Apostrophe. I've been lusting after this album for a while now. I really honestly like when I was working for my dad early this summer, like I had like just this one day that all I did was listen to Frank Zappa albums. And like it was just so cool. It was so fun to listen to. And I was actually going to buy this, I think, when we went to Bull Moose a couple months ago. But I didn't see it there, or at least I didn't see a cheap version. And thankfully, they have it here. They had it here today. So I'm really psyched because this is a really, really good Zappa album. And it's just completely nuts. Just the whole, Don't Eat the Yellow Snow suite. Yeah. Just really great. I don't know if it's my favorite Zappa album. I don't know. I'm trying to think because I think Weasels Rip My Flesh is still probably
that's a great album.
My favorite.
Yeah.
Hot Rats is really good too.
Hot Rats is also great.
What's the other one? I'm trying to remember it now. God damn it, I don't know. It has I'm the Slime on it, which is a great song.
Yeah, I don't know if I know which one.
Yeah, I love that song. But it ends with like this track called Dynamo Hum, which is literally about him fingering this waitress or something. Like I think that's what it's about. That like he's talking about giving this girl an orgasm or something. Like it's just like it's like you like the way I say it, it's cringeworthy. But like when you listen to it, you just can't help but laugh at it, and I just like God bless you, Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, Alex Winter has a documentary on Frank Zappa that's supposedly coming out, believe this year.
Oh, nice.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'd love to
very
watch
much.
that.
Yeah, because he's a huge Zappa fan, and like this thing is like they've been getting like unprecedented access to his archives and stuff like that. So it's gonna turn out to be like a really,
nice.
I think, a really solid documentary.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do it right, you kind of have to go that deep, and you have to.
Well,
yeah.
The thing is that it's tough because, especially with Zappa, because I mean he has such a huge discography,
yeah.
And just I'm not really sure how vocal he was about his personal life and things like that. And I think for a lot of musicians, their personal life is their artistic life. And even though they can separate them to such a degree, like Tom Waits comes to mind, that, to say that the two don't interact with each other is false. And I think with some of Zappa's other, some biographies on Zappa, that I think people have leveled that claim on those, that they focus too much on his personal life or just more like the historical events of his life. So I'm really looking forward to this thing.
Nice. Which
hopefully when it comes out, I'm hoping we'll do an episode on that because I think that'd be really worth talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You've got Joanna Newsom, right?
I have Joanna Newsom Wise. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. And this one, it's coming out.
I really like that album cover.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's her in kind of like a, almost a Baroque style painting.
It's sort of like the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood.
Yeah,
in a way. Yeah.
And the packaging is really nice. I mean, there's some
indentation.
Yeah. And this is an album. This is a blind purchase. One of my friends is big into Joanna. He messaged me the other day and asked, have you heard of her? Because she's fantastic. And she's someone that you kind of always hear about.
Yeah,
she just kind of
exactly.
she takes time between albums, and when she resurfaces, it's something that everyone raves about. She's a harpist. She
Yep.
does I guess progressive folk or artsy folk, and with harp ethically, which is not common, obviously.
Yeah.
But more importantly, which I didn't realize, I was kind of looking this over. Apparently, her harp and vocals were recorded by Steve Albini, and the album was mixed by Jim O'Rourke, which are two people I did not expect to be involved.
Yeah.
With her because obviously Steve Albini.
Well, you think it's like that Jim O'Rourke? Because
I think so.
Well, the only reason because I bring that up is because I know Zorn has this guy who does like a lot of Zedek's mixing, whose name is Scott Hull. It was not the same Scott Hull from Pig Destroyer.
Yeah, I was actually wondering that when I looked. I was like, really?
Yeah, they're two completely different people. So
I'm pretty sure it's him.
I mean, I'm
think
pretty
so.
sure it's Steve Albini because how many other Steve Albinis do you
Yeah,
know?
pretty unique
But
names.
Jim O'Rourke, I don't know. I mean, maybe. Actually, did it say anything about where it was recorded?
New York, and I think isn't Jim O'Rourke based in?
I think Jim O'Rourke was part of the Chicago scene, if I remember correctly.
Interesting. All right, now I gotta look up if
I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, I would be surprised if it wasn't, just because like how many. I mean, that's such a because I think when I looked up on Wikipedia, he was recorded by Steve Albini, who he's known for doing a lot of noise rock, post-hardcore, stuff like that.
Rape Man.
Well, and then it's that Jim O'Rourke. I guess around 2000 he relocated to New York. Obviously the Chicago scene.
All right.
But yeah, I mean that's very interesting because they're not people. I mean, Jim O'Rourke does some folk stuff, but not really. This is a little bit more clean or mainstream. Jim O'Rourke.
I mean, I always had Jim O'Rourke pegged for the like free improvisation.
Yeah, he does.
Scene,
He does
like
some
EAI. And
he does
like
all different types of stuff. So I'm curious how that's going to. Obviously, they're not providing any music to the album. They're providing like kind of more the technicality of recording and mixing and whatnot. But I'm interested in listening to it. It's always interesting to hear. I guess indie approved folk music, because like folk music is kind of people are very selective about what gets praised and whatnot. I feel like it's one of those genres kind of like jazz, where it's largely, well, I guess jazz is a little bit more accepted, but it seems like there's some more classic genres that are seen as kind of lame. Like on the whole, especially like folk, I think you have to do something different with it. It's not like any number of rock genres where basically you can get away with doing kind of a pretty normal iteration of the genre blueprint, and like magazines will like you. If you just do like a plain folk album, I feel like most people are not going to give a shit.
I don't know, because I think folks. I mean, I take this as someone who's not a big folk fan, but I think a lot of what makes a folk artist successful is not exactly their musical style, but the personality that they bring into it. And true. So like, their personal, like the personal way they phrase their guitar or the way they sing, and their lyrical depth. Like have you ever seen the movie Inside Llewyn Davis? That I highly suggest watching that. That's a really good movie.
So every time I see Jimmy, he suggests another movie.
I do. I always
he suggests something that I have to either listen to.
But I feel like you would really like this though, because it's all about the Greenwich Village folk scene during the '60s.
Yeah.
And Oscar Isaac, who was the boss in Ex Machina. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I don't think so.
Okay,
no.
well, he plays Poe Dameron in the new Star Wars too, but he's the lead in that. It's really good. It's a Coen Brothers movie, so
nice. I like the Coen Brothers.
Yeah, so but I think I definitely got a feel that it was more like I think it's more than just what's on the surface.
That's
in a
fair.
way.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, I'm not the biggest fan of folk. I've never really found any artist I've really fallen in love with. Like I like me some Jim Croce every so often, and I have this James Blackshaw album on my shelf that is pretty interesting, But for the most part, I've just like I've never found one that really like clicked with me. Maybe Pink Moon.
Oh,
But,
Pink Moon's great.
Yeah,
Oh, I love Pink
but
Moon.
Pink Moon's one of those albums that like you can't always have on all the time, unless you're like really depressed.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially, it's like one of those albums where, like listening to it, you're like, I feel like this guy probably committed suicide.
Yeah, and
then
then you figure it out. Yeah.
It's pretty fucking
Yeah,
sad.
it is. All right, let's see what else I got in here. Oh, yeah, Tom Waits is The Black Rider. I was hoping to find something like this. I was really hoping for, what was it? I think Alice and Real Gone. That's what I was really hoping for because that, I don't know, Real Gone sounds really interesting because of just like, apparently really lo-fi, which I think Waits and lo-fi is just like such a cool combination. But my friend played me what was it, Russian Dance off of this album, and it's really odd. It's like a I guess it's like the soundtrack to a play that out of all people who co-wrote the play, William Burroughs, the author of Naked Lunch, and one of the beats. So it's a little bit of an odd mixture of things, but I'm always up for buying some Tom Waits. I've never been disappointed with a Tom Waits purchase. So, yeah, really happy to have that added to the collection.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how many... Because one of your goals is to kind of complete your Tom Waits collection.
I mean, it's not as full-fledged as maybe some other, like, discographies that I want to complete, but, let's see, so far, Swordfish Trombones, Bone Machine, Orphans, which is like that 3-disc thing, which is fucking great. Mule Variations, Blood Money. What do you think? I can see it right over there. I think I'm missing like Rain Dogs, obviously. I think that's it, though. And now Black Rider. So, yeah, I do really like I really do want to end up buying all this stuff, just because it is really interesting. Like it's definitely he's one of those artists that you can always return to, and just like you just get something new every time, even if you're listening to the same album.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which speaking of, you got
So I mean, so this is some one of the albums is actually by John Zorn. The other one is
obviously they're both technically Zorn.
Yeah,
but,
the other one is by for his Naked City project. But I figured since it's both Zorn, I talk about him here.
Yeah.
So this I kind of caught the corner of my eye, and it looks like the font that he uses for a lot of different a lot of different releases. It's Naked City, Heretic, Jeu de Dom Cruel. I don't know if that's correct French pronunciation, but apparently I don't know much about this. Jimmy could probably speak more to it, but apparently it's a soundtrack to BDSM.
Yeah. Pornographic film.
Yeah.
It's an underground porno film.
Yeah.
Basically.
And basically, actually, I was talking with the guy at Boomoo's, and he said, it's rare that we get used Zorn, and it's even more rare when people actually buy it. And I said, yeah, I mean, pretty much any time I see a used Zorn project, I grab it.
Oh, yeah.
Because typically they only have, newer stuff by him.
Which isn't bad.
Which isn't bad. Yeah. It's just that it's at least $14-15, and
it's a little expensive.
Yeah, and since you can't really, I mean, I don't think I've ever really been burned to buy a Zorn album personally.
Yeah.
Or at least to the point where like I regret buying it. So, but it's nice to be able to. I always prefer streaming stuff in advance. So
yeah,
the fact that I don't really want to spend $15 on something I haven't heard before, but these two albums look very interesting. So this one, obviously, Naked City is kind of his one of his, I guess, like avant-garde metal, grindcore, avant-garde jazz.
Probably like it was really like the first project that put him on the map. I think it was and Big Gun Down put him up there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, the Naked City. I mean, how would you even describe Naked City? I think it's like.
I mean, like
it's like avant grindcore.
I guess because even when you go through their self-titled, like the one their self-titled Naked City.
Yeah, the debut.
Yeah, that one. I mean, it shifts. You feel like the album kind of it has different moods as it goes on because you have like that midsection, which is just like a bunch of different grind songs. So I'm interested to hear. I mean, like Jimmy said, you really get all manners of stuff with the John Zorn album. So I'm interested.
Heretic is really I find that to be one of the most interesting out of the Naked City catalog, just because of the way it's made, because it's all these. I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's like chamber music, but it's Naked City doing chamber music,
which
basically.
is fascinating.
Yeah, so like they have all the members split up into like different duos and trios, and I mean they still do like a lot of the same stuff. I think they come together for like the very last track on it, and it's very like it's very unnerving, but in not in like a bash you in the brain type of way that like that happened with a lot of Naked City stuff.
Yeah.
It's more like it's like a creeping. It's like a Lynchian type of darkness to it. Yeah, and then you got another one too.
The second one, this is John Zorn, The Crucible, which that is a
Moonchild
album.
Yeah,
and I really liked. You're gonna have to help me with the title.
6 Litanies for Heliogabalus.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got that from, of all places, my local library. I was just looking through the CDs and I was like, oh, they actually okay. So I grabbed it and it's like basically brutal prog, like really crazy, intense stuff. It is Patton on this.
Mike Patton on vocals, Trevor Dunn on bass, and Joey Barron on drums. And then let's see if I'm right. I'm pretty sure Mark Rebo shows up on this thing.
There's actually no. I don't think there's any track credits on that. Like I'm trying to find the list of musicians.
Here it is. It's right under here under the disc. So nope. I guess. Oh well, Zorn shows up on sax, but it's really I find the Moonchild albums to be really interesting because they're very like occult in their themes and stuff like that.
And it's just like crazy.
It's like it's weird how he does it because it's like controlled improvisation sort of that he gets them to do it, but he sort of guides them where he wants them to go.
Yeah.
And it really turns out to be really, really interesting. And just, it's been probably his second biggest project over the last decade.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the only one that's bigger than it is the second Masada book, the Book of Angels, which just ended this year. So, yeah, definitely.
Interesting. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, it did get quite some acclaim.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what track it was that really threw me for a loop because I know it was on this album. It could be 9 by 9. It was really because it sounded like just like a traditional rock song, which is really odd. Yeah, it was a little. I don't know. Like I mean, I love me some Moonchild, but I think out of all the Moonchild, that might be one of the weakest. Maybe, but that doesn't to say it's bad by any means. It just considering how good they can get. So, yeah. Which let's see. You're all done with yours.
I'm all done. Yeah,
I've got like 4 more. So.
I grouped Zorn and Mogwai together.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I should probably do that with my Zorn. But okay, Swans. God, I cannot believe I actually found this thing.
I'm very surprised you found it. Because most of the time you can only find the new reissues, but that's like an original CD. It looks like it at least.
Yeah, it's Cop. It's a compilation of their second album, Cop, and I think it's their second EP, Young God.
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
And I love early Swans. Like Filth is like fucking amazing.
Early Swans is great.
Yeah. So I'm really glad I found it, and because I was sort of hoping that because last time I was at Bolmus they had a copy of Children of God used.
Yeah.
That I really should have gotten that, but yeah. So, but I'm really glad I got this one because just like if I ever want some angry industrial music, man, like here we go.
Yeah, I mean when I think of the no wave movement, I think of early Swans. It's just like in your face, uncompromising.
I know, just raping a slave, like just like how is just that track title?
Which oddly enough, that is one of was one of
Kurt Cobain's favorite songs. he had a list of like all his favorite songs and albums, and that was on there.
That doesn't surprise me.
Which is interesting. Yeah, he had a diverse taste.
He really did.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't really hear it a whole lot.
Yeah, it was always interesting it was interesting to see that list, and then obviously knowing Nirvana's music.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously Swans has kind of morphed into a bunch of different things over the years, and it really doesn't, especially nowadays, resemble what they sounded like back then.
Yeah,
but their early stuff is absolutely that or Filth or Holy Money or Greed.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can't.
Yeah, they're all really good. Yeah. I'm so lucky to have found this copy.
Yeah, when you showed me that, I was like, really? Like that's
yeah. I still sort of wish there was a copy of Filth there, but
Filth is fantastic.
Yeah, but I mean, eventually, I think Swans is one of those bands I'll probably end up buying their entire discography at some point. And
now that they're actually reissuing stuff, because there was a period of time where you basically had to go on Discogs and forfeit your wallet.
Yeah.
And now that they're actually reissuing stuff, you can get it affordably.
Yeah. All right. So next one, you could probably tell me more about this, but the Smiths, The Queen is Dead. A friend just told me, because I've been meaning, it's one of those bands I've been meaning to listen to for such a long time.
Yeah.
And it's not that I didn't like them, it's just I'd never heard them. It wasn't one of those situations of, I heard one song and I was like, fuck this. It was just I just never listened to them.
It also doesn't help that Morrissey kind of sucks.
Yeah, but Morrissey's kind of a douche. Yeah. But my friend at school finally convinced me to listen to this, and I was just so fucking blown away by it, especially by Big Mouth Strikes Again. I love that song.
Yeah.
But just the entire album, the way Morrissey's just sort of the chord progressions that they use are just really odd and just spacey. It's really it's unnerving in a way, because you listen to it, you expect something more along the lines of Joy Division or you know something more typical of post-punk, but it's really it's just completely its own thing. And respect the hell out of that.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm an enormous Smiths fan, and I think that it's one of those cases where sometimes when you have a band that has such an iconic album like The Queen is Dead,
Meat is Murder,
I think the Smiths are one of those bands where except I could see their self-titled Meat is Murder or Queen is Dead being anyone's favorite album. I think Strange Ways was okay. It's a little inconsistent, but yeah, I think that's a case where the album that everyone thinks is their best album, in my opinion, actually is their best album. I mean, I think that The Queen is Dead is one of the best albums of the 80s. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. I love the way, kind of like everything Jimmy said. I mean, I love Morrissey's voice. I don't love Morrissey as a person,
yeah,
but I love his singing. I love how unique it is, how it dances around. I mean, back when I was a kid, my parents played How Soon Is Now, which is their biggest single. It was released separately on newer issues of Meat is Murder. It's included in the middle of the track listing, and I loved the way that they I mean, that sounds very different from what they typically do, but it got me interested in checking them out. And yeah, they just are very just a great band that kind of, interestingly enough, just did 4 albums, 4 years, and then that was it. It's
somehow cemented their place as one of the most iconic bands in music history.
Yeah, they released some singles in between, and then they just kind of that was it. I'm really not. I really kind of hope they don't get back together, because I think
are there rumors?
Who can tell with Morrissey? I think, at some points he said, there's no point. And then other points he said he'd be willing to talk with Johnny Marr. But I mean, they both do their own thing.
Yeah.
And I don't see it happening.
I see, in a world where Guns N' Roses got back together, I think anything's up for grabs.
Oh, it's totally possible.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the question would be, would he show up to the studio or show up to tour?
Yeah.
But because he's kind of a diva. But no, I'm really glad you because
Morrissey the diva.
He is. But
I know.
When you said you were gonna listen to that, I was bracing for impact, because I was like, oh boy, please I want you to like it so badly.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you did.
There was this day I was walking to school listening to it, and it was fall, just beautiful out. And just it fit that mood so well.
Yep.
I just had to sit there and just listen to it.
It's perfect. I love that album.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. Oxbow, Thin Black Duke. I actually have not listened to this album entirely. I've listened to like the first 2 tracks maybe off of it. But it really interests me because it got, like both Fantano and Oliver from Deep Cuts really, really liked this, even though it was, they noted how difficult it was. They said that it really grows really fast. And Oxbow's always been one of those bands that interested me. And actually, a couple months ago, I did that random album selection thing at Important Records, and they sent me this Juju collaboration album. It was Juju and Eugene Robinson, who's the singer of Oxbow, and it's a really, really cool album. And so I'm really psyched to actually hear more of what Eugene Robinson has had to do, because this album definitely it interested me enough to keep wanting to come back to it, but I've just found that I was just really impatient, and but I always, that's the weird thing, is like I don't mind buying something that might take a while to like, because I don't mind going back to it over and over again if I've already bought it. It's as strange as that is. All right, last 2. John Zorn's The Interpretation of Dreams and John Zorn's The Painted Bird, which Painted Bird is, I think, more like, well, you said it was like brutal prog, right?
I think that was more of just a straightforward prog rock album, actually. It was weird because as we said many times in different episodes, Zorn does not stream his music, but randomly he put up an official stream of one track off of that, which I'm not sure if he was trying to do, cross over into, more of the mainstream rock metal. I don't really know why.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that, but this was actually one of the first tracks I listened to from Zorn before I really started getting into him. Was that single, and
I forget what it was, but I really liked it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what it has. I'm a little like. I'm a little wary about it because I've been Kenny Williamson's playing vibraphone on this thing, and he's like on like every fucking Zorn album playing vibraphone, and it just gets a little old sometimes.
Yeah.
But I really like to see what he has in store for this thing. And then Interpretation of Dreams is actually his latest, one of his latest.
Which that was on your top 10?
No, that was There Is No More Firmament.
Yeah.
Which came out in like January of 2017.
Yeah.
This is actually at the tail end of 2017, which is just, I guess it's more like classical works of his, but apparently it's really influenced by like surrealism and William Burroughs, which, if you've ever heard anything that Zorn says is influenced by William Burroughs, it's worth checking out, because it's actually weird how similar those two are, because Zorn's used a lot of Burroughs-esque techniques in his music when it comes to just sort of cutting things up and like pastiching them together. So I'm really excited looking for that. And then, I've got like 7 more Zorn albums on the way too, and 3 Nick Cave albums, and Juju's Fabulous Muscles. So I've definitely got a lot of music to go through.
Yeah, I was really excited. One of the things with I missed most about New Hampshire is Bull Moose. Honestly, I feel like they just have that perfect pocket of they do it better than Newbury. They do it better than the the one-off shops that we have down in New York. They have the perfect of good selection, good prices. Like I feel like they just really hit a lot of the right areas, and I'm glad that I stocked up on a bunch of great. I completed Mogwai's or most of Mogwai's discography, got some some cool stuff. Again, always hope to get some Zorn finds.
Yeah,
so that was awesome. So yeah, I'm really glad that we went.
Me too.
I'm glad that I had $75.
Yeah, I'm glad I had some money. It was just like I haven't bought a new album in such a long time. Well, unless you count the new Rosetta album, but I don't really count that in a way, because I'm like, I'd already saved up for it a long time ago. I was just waiting for the CD version to come out.
Yeah.
Which, funny thing about that, they I think they signed with Relapse. They signed with somebody to release their new album. Which I'm like, all right, you know, thanks for telling me, guys. You know, like just like, why did I buy the CD then? You know,
exactly.
But it's still a good album.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Great. Well, I mean, if you guys bought new music over, you know, Christmas or holidays or whatever, you know, winter holiday you celebrate, let us know. We always love seeing what people buy.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to
share.
Yeah, and I feel like you get a good, you know, because people will tell you what they've been listening to recently, but you know that's usually pretty easy to do, especially if you're scrobbling. It's just on Spotify. You can listen to anything, but like it's always interesting to get a peek into what people's, you know, musical mindset and what their tastes really are at the moment, based on what they buy. You know, what they actually curated, what they actually, you know, sifted through the shelves to find. So I really, and I always like seeing what you buy. I mean, you always buy it's all over the place in a good way. Yeah. Like, I feel like, you know, that there's times where
you remember Dave at Newbury, how he would always say
he would always be like, what the fuck?
He'd be like, well, what the hell are you buying?
I think there was one haul where you had some like death metal out. I think you bought like Catheliist.
Like that sounds about right.
You bought
like,
Cathelius, and then you also bought, I think, like
Madonna.
You bought Madonna, and it was just hilarious because I think we were at Bull Moose, and the guy was like, "Wow, that's something."
Oh, all right. Well, be sure to like and subscribe if you guys haven't already subscribed. And with any luck, we're gonna try to get our stuff on iTunes and some other sites. So, you know, if you guys prefer to listen that way, you know, hopefully there'll be a link. Yep. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
See ya.
Bye.
Torture Guard.